Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel, Only Darkness, a place where we explore the stories that linger in the silent corners of the world, the tales whispered on the edge of sleep, the histories etched into the walls of forgotten places, and the shadows that move just beyond the edge of sight. So, find a comfortable place, but perhaps not too comfortable. Turn down the lights and listen closely, because some stories don't just want to be heard, they need to be. This is The Mirror Watched Her Die.
Have you ever looked into a mirror and felt that it wasn't showing you exactly who you are? What if the reflection staring back at you wasn't yours? What if it belonged to someone who lived, breathed, and died in that very room, yet refused to leave? Tonight, I want you to imagine moving into your dream apartment, a place that feels alive, full of charm, history, and secrets. A place that seems perfect until it's not. Because some reflections don't just reflect, they watch, they wait, and sometimes they reach for you. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll be questioning every mirror you pass, every shadow that moves just out of the corner of your eye, and you'll wonder, what would you do if your own reflection stopped being yours?
Emily had always dreamed of living somewhere that felt alive, somewhere that carried a history you could almost touch. When she finally got the keys to her New Orleans apartment, it felt like stepping into a storybook. Tall windows framed the street below. Sunlight streamed through, illuminating creaky floorboards that groaned beneath her feet. Balconies draped with ivy added to the timeless charm. Every corner whispered stories. Every shadow hinted at secrets. But then there were the mirrors. Antique, ornate, bolted to the walls, reflecting not just light, but something else, something patient. She laughed to herself, brushing off the chill crawling up her spine. Maybe they just need dusting, she whispered. But every time she glanced at one, Emily felt a subtle shift in the air, as if something was stirring behind the glass, something that shouldn't be there. The first night, Emily was brushing her teeth when she noticed it, a pale outline in the mirror, a woman's face, hollow eyes, lips barely moving, staring, waiting. Emily froze. Her hand hovered over the faucet. The reflection didn't move with her. And the more she stared, the more she realized it wasn't her own face she was seeing. It was someone else, trapped inside the glass, watching her. And she felt for the first time that she had intruded into a world that wasn't meant for her. She laughed nervously to herself, hoping the shadows were playing tricks, but the outline lingered, etched into her mind. The nights that followed were worse. Every time Emily brushed past a mirror, it was icy cold, sending a shock through her fingers. Jewelry moved on its own. Drawers opened and closed without explanation.
and the small things she treasured, earrings, bracelets, appeared in the center of her bed as if someone was arranging them, mocking her. She tried to laugh it off, saying maybe she was imagining things, that the old building was playing tricks on her mind. But deep down, she knew something was here. Something alive in the glass, patient, deliberate, and it wasn't going anywhere. Sometimes she woke to faint whispers, words she couldn't make out, soft and melodic, almost like a lullaby, but twisted, wrong. Her name repeated over and over, calling her, beckoning her.
It always happened at the same time, 3:12 a.m. At first, Emily thought it was coincidence, but night after night, she woke to the same darkness, the same suffocating cold, and the same feeling of being watched. One night, she saw the face again, and this time, it smiled, a cruel, knowing smile. Her heart leapt to her throat. She laughed nervously. "Okay, maybe it's just my imagination," she whispered. But the cat, usually aloof and indifferent, hissed and arched its back at the mirror. It wasn't seeing what Emily could see. It was feeling it.
Determined to understand, Emily turned to history. The local library became her sanctuary and her obsession. Newspaper archives, public records, whispers of the past, all led to one story. Claudine Rousseau, young, beautiful, a rising star in the 1920s French Quarter art scene. She was passionate, fiercely independent, and in a tumultuous relationship with a wealthy patron, a man named Laurent Dubois. The articles described him as charismatic, but with a known temper. Emily's hands trembled as she turned the brittle page to the final article. The headline was brief: "Artist's tragic end ruled a suicide." The report stated Claudine had been found in her apartment, a fallen stool beside her, having taken her own life. But Emily's eyes were drawn to a small follow-up paragraph buried a week later. A friend of Claudine's had contested the ruling, claiming Claudine was planning to leave Laurent to start a new life in New York. The friend insisted Claudine would never have taken her own life. The police, under pressure from Laurent's powerful family, dropped the inquiry. Emily looked up from the microfilm reader, the ghostly light washing over her pale face. It wasn't a suicide. It was murder, made to look like one. The mirror hadn't just witnessed a tragedy, it had witnessed a crime. And the spirit within it wasn't just lost, it was screaming for justice.
One night, Emily awoke to the sensation of hands around her throat, icy, invisible, squeezing the air from her lungs. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And then she saw her, Claudine, leaning out of the mirror, her face a mask of rage and desperation. A flash of memory, violent and sharp, invaded Emily's mind. The smell of champagne and perfume, a man's voice, low and venomous. "You will not leave me for him." A shove, the sickening crack of skull on marble. Darkness closing in, but her eyes fixed on the mirror, watching as the man, Laurent, calmly righted the stool, arranging the scene. His reflection met her dying gaze without a flicker of remorse. The last thought, a burning ember of fury. He will get away with it. Gasping, Emily fought back, flailing against the oppressive cold. The hands weren't trying to kill her. They were making her feel Claudine's violation, her stolen voice. As Emily scrambled away, the air returned to her lungs. The message was clear. Help me. Expose him. The fear was now mixed with a grim purpose.
Desperate, Emily called a local spiritualist. The woman arrived, but after sensing the room, she shook her head. "This is not a spirit that wants to be cleansed," she said. "This is a spirit that demands witness. You cannot salt away the truth." Instead of a ritual, they did research. The spiritualist helped Emily find the rest of the story. Laurent Dubois' family had covered it up. He had gone on to become a prominent figure, his reputation untarnished. He was long dead, but his legacy wasn't. That night, Emily stood before the mirror. "I see you, Claudine," she whispered. "I know what he did." The mirror fogged over, and when it cleared, a single word was traced in the condensation: tell. The peace that followed was not the peace of absence, but of acknowledgement. The angry cold receded, replaced by a watchful, waiting stillness. The spirit had found a vessel for its story.
Emily never covered the mirrors again. She left them uncovered, but she never looked into them for long. She started writing, a blog, then an article, piecing together the century-old crime. She joked with friends, "I've taken up true crime. This old apartment is full of ideas." But she knew it was more than that. She was keeping a promise. The reflections in her apartment were no longer just hers, but they were no longer hostile. They were a testament, a silent partner in righting a historical wrong. Because some reflections don't just show you who you are, they show you what you need to do. The story of Claudine Rousseau is now being told. The shadow on Laurent Dubois' name is finally being cast. And the apartment, it's no longer haunted by rage, but by a quiet, grim satisfaction. Some say the apartment is quiet now, that the spirit that haunted Emily finally left. But spirits don't always vanish. Sometimes they linger in the edges, waiting for attention, watching for someone new to notice them. And here's the twist. Emily never really looked into a mirror again, not fully. She avoided them, joked about them, but the truth. Deep down, she knew that Claudine was still there, waiting. Patient, silent, watching. So, tonight, if you see your reflection and it hesitates for just a second, if it lingers when you blink, ask yourself this: is it really you looking back? Or are you staring into something else entirely? Would you recognize the difference if your reflection stopped being yours? Thank you for listening. Thank you for not looking away from the darkness. Remember, these stories are all around us, hiding in plain sight. In the quiet of your home, in the glass of your window, in the reflection you see every day. If you want to keep these stories coming, please consider subscribing to Only Darkness. And don't forget to click the bell icon. That way, you'll be here for the very next tale we unearth from the shadows. So, until the next story finds its way to us,
Try not to stare into the mirrors for too long. The light of your screen can cast strange shadows. Until next time, sleep well if you can.